I'm John Wilson. Welcome to Owned and Operated. Twice a week, we talk about home service businesses. And if you're a home service entrepreneur, then this is going to be the show for you. We talk about our own business in residential plumbing, HVAC, and electric. And we also talk about business models that we just find interesting. Let's get into it. Hey, this episode is sponsored by Service Scalers. So Service Scalers is actually a brand that I've used personally with our companies for a little bit over a year now. They've helped us manage our digital advertising. Frankly, they did a lot better than our last agency. Leads went through the roof and cost per click went way down. Check out Service Scalers if you're a plumbing, HVAC, or electrical home service company. That's what they knock out of the park, and they did a great job for me. We're back. What's up? We've got Rick Vazza. We have Jack Carr here with me, and I'm John Wilson. And we're talking a little bit more with Rick. So we just had a great episode with him. And now we're going to be talking about, he dropped a nugget. And he's like, yeah, by the way, like 10 states away, I bought a new Zoom franchise location. So hold up. We got to talk about that. So walk me through it. You're 9-10 months in to your first Zoom franchise, which is blowing up. You guys are killing it. You're 2.5 years into your plumbing company, and you're like, it'd be slick.
Yeah, my wife was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It was definitely unexpected. Like, I think when I got into the franchise world in general, I started listening to a lot of the franchise podcasts and all that type of stuff. And like, one of the people who I have really liked is this guy, Jamie Weeks from Orange Theory. Maybe I relate to him because he's like a finance background guy in wealth management. And then so that's my story too. And what I thought was really cool was he talks about this like point of when he went and expanded out. And yeah, it's hard, but like, you got to focus on culture and build on it. And I was just finally like, you know what? I want to be, multi-state eventually. Like, opportunity presented itself. I probably wasn't necessarily 100% ready for it, but at the same time, we're like, hey, if you got an opportunity like this, you got to take it. I know the model works. So I was just like, put on the big boy pants and figure it out. But the nice thing I'm excited about is I've been blessed to have a really strong partner who's come on board. So that is going to be also a new experience. I've never worked with a partner. We're really good. It's even how I have with my general manager in San Diego. Like, I'm very much like set the direction. Okay, I got 1,000 ideas going at once, and then he can, okay, let's execute them and keep you on track. So you're not like going off the rails all the time. I get the sense she's going to be really like that as well. She's like super dialed in operationally, and she's also on the East Coast time zone. So I think that's going to help. Even when I was talking to guys, they're like, so you're waking up like when we're, pretty kind of decently into our day. And I'm like, yeah, that's just how it's going to play out. And once they kind of understood that, like, I'm really excited about them. It's a small team right now. It's only 2 guys and they're really strong. I think that also is going to make it work because I have to rely on them to be like really self-sufficient, and we're taking pretty much all the back office stuff off their plate. And I'm going to do a lot of this biz dev stuff for them too, from San Diego. Yeah. So one of the cool things about it is I think we can really cut overhead significantly so it can operate honestly a much leaner level, which I think is going to also help like the ramp up period. And I just told them flat out, hey, I went on ride alongs. I can see how good they are. Like, they got all the ability, period. They just need more calls. So I got to get some calls.
So you're inside, and we talked about this, but this is obviously one of the strengths of being inside a franchise system is you have a captive pool of potential sellers, as well as a captive pool of potential opportunities if you want to greenfield it. So this was somebody that launched a location, decided it wasn't for them, and like, how'd this all float up to you?
So they were like a little over a year ago. I think it was August was at the year mark. I think what's hard, as I said, like the franchise was started to grow so fast. I think there was a lot of excitement and buzz around it. Look, I launched a financial planning company back in 2018, and it's freaking hard starting your own company. But I went into it, literally, I told my wife, I don't plan to have an income for 3 years. So that's the game plan. Like, I need 3 years of runway. We're outflowing, and you got to support me and do all that. And thankfully she's like, all right, let's do this. And so like, I think what's we're finding is probably like for people who maybe didn't have that same timeline of expectations, and like a year went by and if it's still not cash flowing, it's just, hey, what am I doing here?
Okay.
So in my view, there's going to be an interesting opportunity. When I know this trade data is out, I know, John, you're not getting impacted by it because your leads are going off the rocker right now. And I know, Jack, you're killing it too. But a lot of people aren't, let's be honest, like in the trade, like kind of the data.
It's a tough time.
Country,
it's a bloodbath right now.
It's pretty ugly. People joke because like when we're texting till 11 o'clock at night about our SEO strategies and the plumbing text. And I'm telling people like, where did you come up with these ideas and stuff? I'm like, oh, well, my buddies, and they're like talking about their sporting events over the week. I'm like, no, this is what we talk about. They're like, I wouldn't want to compete against you guys.
For anyone listening, let's clear that up real quick. It's Friday night at like 9 p.m. and all of us are talking business. That's the sport. I don't watch football. I don't watch anything else. I talk business
Yeah.
with you guys.
Yeah. I think we need to I guess for more flavor, there's a group text with a bunch of plumbing and HVAC owners all over the country. It's invite only. Yeah, but it's really good. And I think the only thing that I like, and I also don't like, what I like is that it's all shapes and sizes. And I think that's interesting. And it provides a really interesting perspective. Like Wayne is in plumbing and he's like 6 or 7 million, I think, but it's like mostly commercial. And that's really
Yeah.
interesting. That adds a totally different flavor. And then we've got Rick, like part of a franchise. I think you're the only one with part of a franchise. And then like Kylon's huge. I think Kylon's like bigger than me. And it's not close, I don't think, but it's mostly new construction. And so it's an interesting group. And the only thing that I wish could happen is like you have the main chat and then you have like sub chats. And I've been thinking about splitting it up onto Slack or like Disc or something. That way we could drive, hey, here's I don't even know, here's the recruitment specific or marketing specific. I feel like it adds a lot of value. And I feel like, man, other people should be on here just because it's interesting. And I know I get so much out of everybody that's on there, but I don't know.
Yeah. I'm particularly grateful. You're always very generous with what you share. But yeah, I think with that, just kind of circling back on how that goes,
Yeah.
even when you guys are sharing that stuff, it's like, it's super helpful because I'm one of the smaller ones in the group too. Sometimes it's a blessing and a curse because I see what you guys do. I'm like, I got to go do all of
Damn
that.
it.
I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
remember,
yeah,
we're not
yeah.
quite there yet. But some of the ideas that have come out of there have been huge. And I think that's like also a big part of the confidence of like kind of going this direction. Cause now that I'm spreading out, I'm like, look, I love this. I'm obsessed with it. To me, those conversations are fun. I don't want to be doing something else at that time. But anyways, actually, I was just on the Renai trip the last 3 days. I just got back last night. We're in Atlanta for the tankless water heater thing that they did. And we're up to like 1:30 in the morning, just like talking, plumbing. And I'm like, if someone told me I was going to be doing this 5 years ago, even, I'd be like, what the hell?
You're living the
Yeah,
dream.
I love it.
This is the life.
But yeah, I think like when we went that direction, I was like, all right, I love this. I want to be doing it. These opportunities are going to present themselves. Like I'm just going to go for it and then we'll figure it out from there. But interestingly now it's still early, but I think we have kind of a general thesis of what we want to do. And it's the opposite, honestly, of what I did with Jompedia. Whereas so earlier I was talking about how like Jompedia was like the kind of initial crown jewel where we then started doing the leads over to Zoom. And now that these other franchises have like already a footing in there, obviously we need to continue to grow them and get them going. There's, like I said, they're small, but it's going to be interesting as we do make that happen. There may be an opportunity to then plug out, maybe it's acquire another plumbing company in that area or go greenfield one. I'm not really sure yet what that will look like, but I think that opportunity could probably be a pretty practical one.
Yeah, I think I'm back to this developing a muscle thing on BizDev. And so a couple years ago, the thought and strategy has changed, but I'm sure I've talked to you guys about this, that a few years ago, our plan was basically to greenfield new locations across Ohio. So we were going to go in and we were going to seed it with, I don't even know, 100 grand or something, or 50 grand each location, and basically just like slow scale it up. And the idea at the time was it's easier to run I think it's the wrong idea for how I was thinking about it. I think in Zoom it could work, but like the way I was thinking about it was it's easier to have 10 $2 to $3 million shops than one $20 to $30 million shop.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've changed my mind a lot on that. But I think most of the reason I've changed my mind is we have so many, like scale does solve a lot of problems, but we're also multi-trade and that makes things really complicated. Whereas if all you do is drains and that's the main thing, like that's sick. And you could do that in any state. You could do that wherever you want. And the only thing that matters is the biz dev, like how do you drive new leads in a new market? And that's the only like nuance that you're going to experience. Besides that, like you're hiring drain techs, you have a pricing model, you have an equipment model that works. And like all of that is solved and set in front of you. And all you have to do is figure out how, like all you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Like, but that's the big, oh, how do we drive dollars is what does launch look like? And man, if I were in your shoes and I'm like looking down the barrel of a second location across states, then I would be like, all right, this is the model now is state expansion. So what I have to do is I have to be figuring out, yeah, how does biz dev work? I'm saying what you already know, but like, how do I gen lead flow? And like, who really cares about the other models at this point? Like, how do we get up to 10 locations in Zoom? Because if it's multi-location, multi-state, that's the game. Like,
No,
it's driving
100%.
that first million in each location.
No, I agree with that. And like, I'm talking about that playbook. Look, like I said, I'm in this for, a long time is my plan. So
Yeah.
that's the down the road. But yeah, I mean, I echo that. I mean, the thought process, even as I was talking to my partner, is like, if we can grab, more territories and we have that playbook that we can run and we know how to do it, it looks pretty attractive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is sick. So walk me through your partnership.
As I was saying to you guys, that's kind of what we're figuring out. I have a ton of, confidence here and I'm really excited about it. But like we're in the early stages of this. And this all happened, no joke, it was like a Tuesday of like, hey, this thing's available by Friday. You have to now make a decision. Like it was like that fast. So we're definitely still in the early stages of figuring that out. Even right now, we're going through, hey, what are roles and responsibilities? What's the split
Yeah.
going to look like? All that stuff. I think ultimately, like the thing that I'm confident is, especially like we've only spent a little bit of time together in person, but I have it like right off the bat, like a ton of confidence in her capabilities and such. I think after that, we're like, okay, we have complementary skill sets. We're clearly very committed to this. And now we got to figure out like the X's and O's of what does it actually look
Yeah.
like from that
For sure.
perspective.
Yeah, maybe a silly question, but step back a second. Why are you pulling on a partner? Did I miss that? Or is this the old business owner?
No, it's a new partner. So part of the initial thought process was frankly the time zone issue and just me literally being so far away from this location. Like she's in Philly, so it's a bit of an easier commute for her, same time zone. So she can help from that perspective. So that was like honestly a big part of it because like this was so fast. But I think now we're like, hey, we're pretty good working together. I was telling John earlier, I've been traveling nonstop in October. So I was totally unresponsive. And I flat out was like, hey, I already have all this travel booked. This is not good timing for me at all. So I felt horrible because she just held down the fort, but she did an awesome job. And I think like even through something as difficult as that was too, I was like, okay, this is a good early signs of something that could be pretty beneficial in the long run.
Is this
How
a
did you?
cap table partner or operating partner?
Yeah,
Like, is she running it day to day?
We're still figuring that out, to be honest, of what that's going to look like. I think what we expect is that role to be taken off significantly from the location. But we're thinking if this becomes something where we brought it out, what does that hold co then look like? And then is BB like, is she COO? Am I CEO? Like, how does that all look? So like cards got started at the local level. And now I think we're
Yeah.
quickly realizing it's actually a little bit beyond that. And then from the day-to-day stuff, I mean, like I was telling you, John, the guys are really self-sufficient. As far as like stuff goes, it's, hey, I'm going to take pretty much all back office stuff off your plate. We're going to try and run marketing off your plate. As long as I can get leads and you can service those leads, we're pretty good from the actual location standpoint. And like the guy who's there right now, like he's already expressed interest in wanting to like eventually move toward that GM role. So he's already doing a lot of the things that like would showcase willingness to do that, right? He's going to be able to take the lead on, hey, van goes down. What do I go to get it repaired? Like he already is doing that stuff. Like in some cases, I think if that happened here, I don't know that anyone would really know what's next steps. Like they're going to need that support. Like he's already doing some of that, which is promising. So yeah, I don't know. We're again super early. We're a lot of these questions are questions we're asking each other, honestly, right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is she another franchisee?
No, she was working for the franchise and she's the daughter of the CEO. So she's been really involved from basically the beginning.
Yeah, that's interesting. Inside a franchise system, do you just like get an email? Like, how's it like? I don't even know. Do you get a phone call? Hey, man, you're doing good. This guy's not doing good. You wanna party? Like, how's that work?
We share like numbers pretty regularly. So in general, everyone has a general sense of where people stand. And then there's a lot of like breakout sections and things like that. And kind of see like, okay, who's active, who's participating, who's really in this for sure. And then there's some people you just don't really hear from or see. So it's kind of varies in that regard. As far as like the actual dynamics of it go, what I appreciate is they actually do like a survey of franchisees of, I don't remember all the questions, but one of them was like, what is your growth plans or what do you see happening? And I just flat out said, yeah, I want to grow through acquisition. I'm interested in this stuff. So I think just simply raising my hand, they then probably tapped on a few people who were like, hey, you expressed interest in this. What are your thoughts? And I was like, yeah, let's go.
So, how does a deal work inside a franchise system? Like, how does this deal work? Or do you have to pay a new franchise fee? Do you just take over debt? Like, how does that even work? Because this isn't like me buying a plumbing company.
No, exactly. Yeah. It was very different. So in a lot of cases, right, those people are on the hook for various liabilities. That's really the value that you're doing. It's, hey, I'm just assuming those liabilities. Now you're off the hook.
Yeah. Okay. This is like a 7 or 8 year old story now, but like the deal that like made my career, that was my second acquisition. Like my first was my family's. My second was this failing plumbing company that I bought for debt. Like I bought for what they owed. And I think people try to overcomplicate it and they do a lot of different things, but that got them off the hook. I've done 3 deals like that now where it's just like, this is what they owed on something. This is what they needed to walk away.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't that deep. And I think people are always surprised by that because it's no, you have to multiply by whatever. You have to take asset value. And it's like, these
No.
people literally just can't afford the debt. And that's all that they're thinking about. And don't overcomplicate it. Hey, you want to be out of debt? Here you go. You want a job
Yeah,
after?
100%.
Here you go.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
interesting.
obviously, I think it's different. If I were to go approach a super successful franchisee, that's totally different, right? They're going to have some sort of valuation that they expect. But yeah, in this case, when it's just someone who's, hey, I'm out, what else can you do really? It's, all right, I'm bailing you out of a situation here.
Yeah, for sure. Were you able to take over the asset liens as well? Were you able to take over loans on vehicles or did you have to get new loans or how did those work?
Funny enough, we're still going through that. So to be determined, but the idea is that we're just assuming those leases.
Okay, so they're leased. So that makes that a little bit easier.
Yeah, essentially, I
Man,
mean, if you think of the big ones, right? Big ones have been assume the leases, assume the lease on the location, make sure that insurance can cover it. So that was even funny, right? Of like underwriting. They're like, yeah, we're going to now a whole different state here. So we had to get all that go through. And then those are like the big outstanding issues. And all the other stuff. Okay, now you get the stuff that you do all the time, right? Payroll, switch over
yeah.
the accounts. That's all the other stuff. But the big three of let's make this actually happen, it's the ones I just said. And then the other thing is obviously going to be now licensing requirements, right?
Yeah, you got to make that happen. So does the franchise, it's in their best interest to find a good partner. It's in their best interest to find a growing partner. Do they give you a floor? Is there like a parachute here of, hey, we'll help support you for the first month? Like they need this to win too? Or is it just like day one, this is your freaking problem, bro? Good luck.
That's a good question. I mean, like I said, they've been very supportive. So I'm sure if something that comes up, like I could reach out. But I think when I put like my projections together and now I'm at the team and see everything, like I see the path. So I don't expect things to go that direction. But I also didn't go into it blind. Like I've got my cash reserves if I need to and things like that. And that was also Jack's question. Why go in with a partner? Like part of it is like, hey, these are currently not cash flowing businesses. Like I don't want to be ruining my current operations with how long this could potentially take. So God forbid it takes longer than I'm initially
Yeah.
thinking, but
Yeah.
helps lessen that load.
And maybe a personal question, but do you actually have to PG your other businesses or your other franchise to pick up that one? Oh, good. So it's a whole separate entity because I know when we
Yeah.
go to
And I
the
wouldn't have done
SPS,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially on catching a knife, there's always the
Exactly.
extra risks there. So, I have a question for you. So we're buying a business that's 50 miles away, and I'm having a heart attack just thinking about driving out there every once a week or twice a week, and I know it's going to do more than that in the beginning. But how are you wrapping your head around the travel constraints of being so far away? What's your expectation on how often you're going to be out there? Or is it hey, I'm managing the marketing, the back office, the overall business, but I'm not going to be the on-site operations?
Yeah, I think that was obviously a huge concern initially. And I think that concern has lessened since I met the team because I think there are two really good guys there. And the lead guy, like I said, is really self-sufficient. He's excited about like training up the next guy and all that stuff. So to date, like what we've been doing is just a lot of virtual calls, a lot of videos in the morning to get the day started. Most of those I missed because I was traveling all of October. So my partner led a lot of that, but that's the game plan going forward. She's kicking off in the morning. And then since it's easier for me to do afternoons, like I can start handling that. The other thing that was helpful is, we already moved toward the remote call center. I already have that in place for what we're doing now. So it's pretty easy for me to just scale that up. So like I basically told them, all right, hey, now you're going to have one point person for all of your calls. So any questions you have, it's going to be for them. Like we have the infrastructure in place, I think, which gave me the confidence that like they're going to have a lot of support. I think my hope, well, honestly, because they're going to have more support than they did, even with someone in the office than before. So that should really help them from that standpoint. And then, yeah, of course, I'll probably go out there periodically because I want them to know that I care and I'm part of this. But that was a concern initially that has lightened. I mean, who knows, something could pop up that makes people like totally eat my words right now, but I feel pretty good about where we're at.
I almost feel like it's easier. I feel like it's because we bought a business that was about an hour away. And I frequently wished it was like 5 or 6 hours away because that would mean that there's no chance of me just going there to
Yeah,
suggest
yeah,
a
yeah.
problem
I could see that.
and like states away versus like 45, 50 minutes. Like what it ended up doing to our team is it's under an hour. That feels close enough that you're just going to pop out there real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like you're in a position where like you just literally don't have that luxury. I think that's going to force some better execution than what we did, which was drive up when we have to, which
Yeah,
was
I think like
a lot.
honestly too, like part of it, and I know sometimes it's just like maybe ignorance, but like there are people who do this. So I know it can be done. And I'm like, we're going to figure it out. This is
Yeah.
not like uncommon that people have, locations in different places. So I'm just like, hey, if they can do it, why can't we figure it out? And I know that's
Yeah.
not like a super strategic answer, but that's part of
No,
like,
That's a
honestly,
great answer.
for the most part, when I'm looking around and like the reason I started buying businesses in the first place is because somebody left our company and bought a business. And I was like, what? If they can do it, I can do it. And then we bought 9, right? So no, 100%. That's a good answer. That's a great answer. I remember I was talking to Nathan Baycock and he's got 3 or 4 Zooms, I think. And
as the territories. I think he's South Carolina, right?
yeah. And he's got a bunch of 2-minute trucks. So I think he's like 35 total franchise locations across all the different things he's a part of, which is interesting. And what he said is like the farther they are from him, the less the performance, which I think is interesting. And they're all within driving distance for him. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I wonder if that's a part of that's like sort of flagship store or which one's getting the attention and like how you think about where your office is. Because if your office is in one, then that one's always going to outperform the one that your office isn't in. And that's from my experience too. The one region, but like multi-location. But I thought that was interesting. I don't know. He could be
That
a
was
good
really
connection
interesting.
just because he's doing it. And obviously, like you do your best to impact that and you do your best to make that less of a thing. But I just thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, I have not connected with him, and I've been wanting to. He has a couple operators who are typically
Yeah.
involved in those calls that I was talking about, and we had our like annual retreat, and it was the same week that my sister was getting married, so I
Yeah.
didn't make that one. So I'm going for the next one though.
Nice. All right, man. Yeah, this is crazy. So you started a franchise, you got into another state like a year later. How quick do you feel? I know you're like a month into this or a week into this or whatever it is, but like, how quick do you think you want to activate new locations? Is that on your brain yet?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what's interesting with the franchise things. Like some of it, I feel like isn't really on my timeline. To be honest, like it's just some of these may pop up, and it's just like you said, either you're willing to say yes
So
or
there's not
it's
available
not right.
territories to Greenfield?
Oh, sorry, you're talking about in Michigan. I thought you meant would I acquire more if presented an opportunity? Sorry, I misinterpreted.
No, I am asking that. But to me, activating a new location in your capacity is either greenfielding a new one because there's open spots or buying an existing territory. So you sort of have 2 paths to grow here.
Yeah, I think right now probably the buy is more attractive because this wasn't even on my timeline right now. It just came up as an opportunity a lot sooner. But we still have so much opportunity just here that
Yeah.
I wouldn't like outlay cash to go greenfield a place that would then slow us down here. So I'd be focused on going here. But if opportunities like this present themselves, where frankly, in a lot of ways, it's too good to be turned down, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
just you got to figure it out and then see what happens. That's the only reason this even happened so fast. It's just like a kind of a unique opportunity that presented itself.
Yeah, I wonder if it turns into a logistics game. So I'm thinking a couple years down the line, and I'm like, what if he does this again next year? And what if he does 2 next year, same as you did this year? And they're greenfielded, and you start running like, let's say 20 of these trucks, the big jet 150,000 trucks. Like that's the significant investment, right? That's the hard nut to crack, either the debt or the cash or whatever. So in a couple years, you'll have more of these and you could just start moving them around in an interesting way. Hey, I want to launch one in Cleveland. I have 4 trucks in Detroit. I'm just going to deploy a truck down to Cleveland and I'm going to use that to greenfield for a while. Or even just density too. Pick up the things around Detroit and get way denser inside that same area.
Does the size of your area that you buy, does it allow for a greenfielding, or would you have to purchase another location on top of trying to greenfield?
Each territory is 300,000 people. So we have 3 territories in like the Detroit area, which I did, and we have 7 in San Diego. So with Detroit, there's definitely room to continue to expand. San Diego is closed out at this point. So it would have to be through acquisition or going into Orange County or Arizona.
Yeah, because the flagship store is like 15 million. How many territories does it take to get to 15 million?
I don't know how many territories they represent, but you figure the math is, just based on the vehicles, right? And you could probably back into the math. I'd have to whip out the calculator, but yeah, I mean, we could figure it out. I just don't know off the top of my head how many territories that one represents.
All right. Fast.
I know according to them though, it's not even remotely near where it could and should be. So like they still have a lot of room to run over there as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but to John's point earlier, the neat part is once you get that biz development muscle set, you get everything set in place and all of the processes and all of the people. I mean, biz development really can be a remote position as well. So you could build out an entire call center and a biz development center and just freaking pop these things up all over.
Oh yeah. I have some other crazy ideas. I know everyone goes restoration, electrical, HVAC, things like that. But like, ironically, for like this type of business, like one, I'm super interested in like window cleaning because they're doing all the restaurants all the time. I think there's like other adjacent businesses that become very interesting pop-ons to these. And again, I'm talking down the road, but like there's a lot of stuff in it that becomes interesting that are lead adjacent. And to like the point, if you can figure out that muscle, it could get replicated across a few different things. I don't know. We have a lot of work to do. We're not even close to where I want to be with San Diego. I'm really excited. We made some changes recently. A lot of it, honestly, based on what you guys have shared in our group. And I'm super excited. I think we've got good energy going now, but like we're just beginning to get going there. So it's going to be hopefully a fun 10 plus years, but the next few in particular are going to be pretty interesting.
For sure. And Zoom is great. We probably really need to get like sponsor or something.
I know a few people I could help.
Yeah. It's a good pro. I'm not even a franchisee and I'm like, hell yeah. We talked to them about it, but we had to convert like our $6 or $7 million drain business. And I was like, I think I'm okay.
Yeah. See, you'd be tough to figure out. I don't know how that would work.
They had a plan. I just didn't. So it ended up at full royalty, but it was like staggered over years. So it would be like 1%, 2%, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. You struggle with it because then there's also like the debt attached to it. It's not like I launched it and it's debt free. Like I bought it. So I don't know.
I'm surprised like maybe the 6 is like your base and then anything maybe off of that could riff on the royalty, but like that's kind of a.
Yeah, I think their philosophy was like they believe in their systems. So their systems are going to create such a net positive effect to the rest of my business that they deserve the royalty. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's their belief in what they bring to the table.
Yeah, you'd be a hard one.
Man, this was awesome. Thanks for sharing your story on grabbing that second location in Detroit. That's crazy. And also, I just want to visit. Like, I'm not very far from Detroit. So like next time I'm gonna hit you up and just like do some ride-alongs and like try to convince your guys to help me greenfield a drain business in Detroit. But no, this was great. Thanks for coming on, sharing your story. This was cool. Unique opportunity. I'm glad you took advantage of it. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for having me on. And as always, like thanks for everything that you share. I mean, you've helped my business and myself significantly. And Jack and I were recently acquainted, but I can't wait to hear more about what you got going on. So
yeah, man,
I really appreciate it, guys.
I'm gonna start a Zoom down here in Nashville, and you're gonna hear a lot more from me. You just wait.
Hell yeah,
I'm excited. I know, honestly, it's a good opportunity. I've been chewing on it. Once we get our plumbing business up, we're legitimately going to think about it.
That just could be the plumbing business.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we'll be talking about how Jack bought the Zoom. Tune in twice a week with Owned and Operated. Thanks, Rick, for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Owned and Operated, the podcast for home service entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Twitter at @WilsonCompanies. I'll see you next time.